What's going on, guys? So, how do you take apart an IS300 fuel pump hanger? Well, that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to take it apart fully. If you want to change out your pump, if you're having problems with just your fuel level and you want to take this little plastic disc out to clean it, because it's a fuel level sensor that's very simple. It's basically just a plastic disc that has different circuits on it. So whenever this little bar sweeps across those circuits, it changes the resistance values that goes into the factory computer. I will be feeding this into an aftermarket, a Haltech computer that is the engine management that's controlling my engine. So I need the resistance values off of it. So I've already pulled those and written those down. I'll talk about those a little bit later. I'm gonna go through just changing out the pump itself. This one's dirty. I've had it sitting on the floor. It's not going back in the car. The fuel level sensor on this is going to be mixed with a triple fuel pump hanger that is from Autosport Engineering that I will only have 2 fuel pumps on, but those fuel pumps are dual Walbro 450s. I'll be putting that together in a later video. I'm still waiting on fuel system components before I can start assembling the fuel system on the car. So I can't do anything as far as that goes, but what I can do is I can take the fuel level sensor off of this and I can at least set it aside so that I can put it on my fuel pump assembly that will be going on the car so that I'll have enough fuel. This is small, I can't use this. So I need something that flows considerably more fuel than what this flows. So we are going to take this apart and we're going to see how you can change out just your fuel pump if you only want to buy just the fuel pump and be back on the road. So I'm going to set this camera up on the tripod, that way I'll have both hands free, and then we're going to start disassembling this. So disassembling the pump, what I have so far is this just slips off, right? And I cleaned the top a little bit before I pulled this off, but it was basically stuck to the top. I just had to release it a little bit. There's a seal here you might want to re-inspect. Make sure it's not cracked or anything whenever you're taking this out and putting it back together. I have already, because it was a little difficult and very time consuming, so what I did is I basically just stuck a screwdriver here in each one of these little, under each one of these little tabs, and pried up gently as to not break these, because I mean I'm not planning on reusing this, but I do want to keep it in good shape, so I've been doing that. So I went around and I pried, I think there's 4 of them, so there's this one, this one, this one, and this one. Yeah, so there's 4. So those are all released. Because all I really want to do is take this out, so I want to make sure that this stays in good shape. There's a seal that's around this, that's holding this, because this comes up from this bottom assembly. So what I don't want to do is break that off, so I want to kind of like take this off straight up. So I'm hoping that there's nothing else holding it, and yeah, okay, so there wasn't. Yeah, so there's a seal. So this is a little O-ring that's down here if you want to inspect that and possibly replace it. But that goes around this part, so now I can disconnect this. So this is the top of the fuel pump. I'm not prying, I'm just putting that little screwdriver in there so that I can release the tab and then pull up. It's not a good idea to pull up on the wires, but it's not held in very sturdily. Sturdily is an official word used by me and many like me. So obviously, I mean, I guess inspect your wires for damage. It's not likely that they would be. This could almost be pried off whenever it was on the pump, but the edge of the pump, this whole plastic assembly here, the edge of it actually pushes against this little tab so that you can't pry the tab back. What you could do if you don't care about using this in an IS300 pump assembly anymore, you can actually cut this little tab off, and it looks like you could still, it looks like you would be free to just slide this off on the bottom. But these 2 pins here are the ones that I was checking, and so it's when you're looking at this connector like this, so you're looking at the top of it, these top 2 pins are the 2 pins that go down and they connect for the for this fuel level sensor. So if you're wiring this into an engine management, you would need to use those 2. So there's this. So this is taken off, and now whenever I put it on this, there's 2 screw holes. There's like there and there, so I can basically mount it with this, and then I can start measuring my fuel level with this new pump assembly. It looks really cool. I still have to assemble that. That'll be in a video that's coming up, but I'm going to set this aside where it's safe. So taking the pump out is not that difficult, but you do have to loosen this, oh, and that one went back. And then this one here, that's, I don't know if can I get to it with my fingers, or do I have to use, I might have to use my little trusty screwdriver. Okay, so this is off. And there's the pump. The pump's out. So all I did was push down on the top of it while I was pulling out on the bottom. And here's your pump. This is still a good pump. This screen obviously is very dirty. So if you want to change the screen out, there's a little, this little clip on the bottom. I wouldn't recommend using this little clip again once you take it off. I would get another one. So I'm pretty sure if you order another one of these little filters, this screen, it comes with a little thing on the bottom. So yeah, so I do that. But this is the fuel pump. I think is this still a factory one? It doesn't say Denso. It does say Denso. So it's either still the factory pump and it has 185,000 miles on it, or it was replaced with a Denso one, because it's not an off-brand. So cool. 185,000 mile pump, possibly. I think I might text the previous owner to ask him if he ever changed the fuel pump, just because I'm curious. These pump housings aren't too terribly expensive if you wanted to get this whole fuel pump hanger, but that's how you take it apart. As far as measuring the resistance of this, so this is how it sits on the IS300. I've already taken it out of the fuel pump housing. So normally I would put one here and one here, but I can't do that. So I'm actually just going to put that there, as long as they don't touch each other. It won't spark because it's just going into the multimeter, but so I connected them here. So I connected the black one there and then the red one there. There's not really a polarity difference. You're just measuring resistance, right? But my little LCD screen that I have here, so my resistance level now, it's like when this is all the way at the bottom, so it's showing 55.4, and then when I move this up, it's showing 0.4. Now that's a resistance value, and my setting that I have it on this 200 setting. So whenever I run this into the Haltech, I'm actually going to have to enable the 1K pull-up, a 1K resistor or a 1,000 ohm resistor, so that you raise the resistance level so that your engine management can see the resistance of it. It's too low of a resistance for it to accurately read the very, very, very low when it gets up all the way to the top. So what's interesting is whenever I measured the resistance on the top two terminals, whenever it was going through this, and this was on top and it was all assembled, I was getting different resistance values. I think it was still 0.5 at the lowest resistance, but on the highest resistance level it was showing 2 point something, which I'm going to go, it could be different because these weren't pinching hard enough, because it's just a tiny pin that's on the inside. They don't have the clamping force going on those two little pins that they do when they're going on here. Like this one is spread farther apart, so it's clamping harder, so there should be less resistance whenever it's clamping onto this one. So that could be the whole difference between the resistance, which means I'm probably going to go by the resistance values that I'm getting clamping this onto here, just because it's a tighter grasp, and it mimics the grasp that I would have had if there were actual wire pins going into this. Last little thing I want to mention, if you're taking this apart because you're thinking, hey, I'm going to put this really big high flow fuel pump in the IS300, that's a very bad idea, because this fuel pump, if you look at the wires of this, These are small fuel pump wires. They can't handle a very high amp draw, and they will melt if you put a larger fuel pump. If you can manage to fit a larger fuel pump in here, like if you look at the Walbro 450, it's a big pump. It's not going to fit in there, right? Well, I guess it will, but it's not going to fit well. You will likely melt something if you're running this pump in this housing. So don't run this pump in this housing. If you're going to run a larger fuel pump, make sure you change out the wires. Be very careful, and because they generate more heat. So be very careful what pump you put into the IS300. But that's it for this video. This is how you take it apart, and putting it back together is basically the reverse of everything. There's no sense in showing how to put it back together because you just do everything that I just did, but in reverse. So thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and God bless you guys.